Hi, folks. I'm Father Joe Grimaldi. You can call me Joe, and I'd like to welcome you to my podcast. But now, here's our host and friend, Ken Calvert.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ken Calvert, alongside my good friend, Father Joe Grimaldi, and we'd like to welcome you to the Father Joe Grimaldi Podcast. The Father Joe Grimaldi Podcast, proudly supported by our good friends at Hoot McInerney Star Lincoln. The Lincoln Summer Invitation Sales event is in its final days. That means right now is the best time to purchase or lease any one of the exciting Lincoln vehicles. Do you realize it's already time to start thinking about the all-new 2020 lineup that's coming in? Yeah, that means it's just a matter of weeks before our inventory lot will be overflowing, and we need to make our best deals to free up that space. That's right, the Lincoln MKC, the Nautilus, the Navigator, the Aviator, Continental, MKZ, they are all priced to move and move now. Stop by Hoot McInerney Star Lincoln, 12 Mile and Telegraph in Southfield. Mention you heard about it on the Father Joe podcast, and you'll get extra savings, additional savings, oh yeah. Shop online at starlincoln.com. That's starlincoln.com, and tell them Father Joe sent you. You know, you can sort of smell it in the air.
Can you?
Fall is out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's creeping in.
Yes.
The days are getting a little shorter. The temperatures, albeit rather warm right now, will be getting cooler later in the week. And you start to think about football, back to school,
Sure.
all of those great things. Oh, gosh, people will start thinking about Halloween. What a great holiday that is now for retail. Did you know it's number 2 to Christmas?
You could easily find out by going into the stores.
It's already out there.
Yes.
Isn't it amazing? Mm-hmm. Will they ever let us just go about life without thinking about something? Here's my question for you. As priests and the Catholic Church, do you sort of reinvigorate the faithful as the seasons change?
I hope so. One of the things, we are fortunate to live where we do. Not every place is like where we live. And I think we take that for granted so often. And the reason I mention that is we live in an area where, generally speaking, the population of our area changes according to the seasons. For example, your church is packed from, let's say, maybe from September to the middle of January. Then it's empty again because everybody is south.
Yep.
And then they come back again, and when it gets warm, everybody is north. So it varies. And so you're dealing with a different population in the pews, if you want, and so that you have to preach accordingly. Now, that is unique to our area or places like it. And so that this does not become a situation elsewhere, where people just go through their daily lives, if you want, their daily lives going through what they have to do, the routines of going to work, coming home, trying to get ready for the next day, and so on and so forth. So it's interesting what you say because it brings to mind the type of preaching that you have to work with. I think...
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Sure.
I think that there's a window at the pulpit and also in the pew to send us back to school. It's time for Catholics to go back to school. That's where I'm going with that. Is this a good time for all of us, you included? It's time to get back to the serious part of what we do as Catholics. Summer's over. Vacation is over. Let's now refresh, and that's your job as a priest.
Yeah, I think a certain amount of that takes place. But you see, as Catholic priests, whenever we preach on what the readings are.
Right.
So it's not just some topic that comes to mind. And so that you can present those ideas. See, a lot of stuff happens in the fall. That's when life begins, if you want. School gets started. Work takes on a different meaning.
Yep.
People come back from wherever they've been, this type of thing. And so that there's a whole new impetus on their way of life. And so, yes, I know what you're saying, I think. And I think it means that we have to reflect that in our preaching, despite the fact we're really tied down to what is the reading of the day.
Yeah, but if I'm a priest, if I'm Father Ken, and I'm just thinking about life in general, in concert with the gospel,
Right.
okay, the liturgy. But at the same time, I'm thinking about the fact that fall is on the horizon. I'm one of those guys, I lean heavily on metaphors. I like to think I'm a decent, not great, storyteller.
Uh-huh.
So if I'm at the altar and I'm your old buddy Father Ken, I'm going to say, hey, it should come as no surprise if you walk into any store right now. It's all about Halloween. We got to take advantage of this situation that we're constantly turning over. And it's funny how that applies to today's gospel. Because right away I know I have their attention. I know that they've been in the store. And for a while they saw back to school, back to school, back to school. And now I know for a fact that they're saying Halloween, 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 whatever the case may be. People are constantly refocusing, recharging. I guess refocusing is a better way of putting it. Am I wrong to think that if I were Father Ken, I could kind of go there from the altar?
I think that's fantastic.
Really?
I think you
Thank
have.
you.
I do. I believe that. I mean, that's what we all should strive to do, is make the readings relevant. Now, how we do that, everybody has a different way, a different technique. That is a great technique. One of the things I was caught a little bit when you were talking about Halloween, I just disliked one of the things that was said a couple of weeks ago, that they were trying to change the date that we celebrate Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
So make it on Saturday so that people can have more fun doing what they're doing.
Right.
Well, the irony is this. What does Halloween mean? How can you change it if it means the day before All Saints? That's what it means. Halloween. It's two old English words meaning the eve, E-E-N, the eve of All Saints, Halloween. So,
Now, I'm going to stop you for a second.
sure.
You know that there are people listening right now that didn't know that.
Probably.
No, I'm going to tell you right now. There are people listening right now that did not know that. Continue, please, Father Grimaldi.
Well, I think what bothered me a little bit, this was a month ago, I think, they were talking about it. And I'm thinking to myself, how can they do that?
Yeah.
They have to give it a different name, maybe call it, I don't know, a fall day or something like that.
Yeah.
But to think that Halloween would no longer be on the eve of All Saints
Day.
if it means the eve of All Saints.
Right.
So they have to change that word. And of course, nobody cares. Here I'm making a big deal out of it, and nobody really cares. Okay. What's the big deal? So we call the following Sunday Halloween.
Right.
Well, it's not. And I said to myself the other day, why are you thinking about that? Nobody really cares.
I'm sorry. My eyes are watering over here.
So I didn't mean to get off the topic, but you know what I'm saying.
You're on the topic.
Okay.
That's the beauty. That's why I like it when you say Mass. First of all, you have the greatest laugh on the planet. You know
All right,
that.
good. All
It's
right.
contagious. And so I get laughing when you get laughing, and then I have to adjust your volumes. But the volume of the recording, ladies and gentlemen. But you see, that's where I would be as Father Ken. Father Ken would take advantage of what you just did. I would use that on the altar. People would have a nice time. They'd reflect. We could get a little more serious. And then let's get on with the Mass.
Now, I don't know if we resolved that, by the way, that question.
Well,
Are they going to change the date?
No. Oh, that I don't know. I know it was a hot potato for about a week.
Right.
And
I was burning.
And by the way, I don't know who's in charge of changing the holiday.
Well, I think they would have to present it to the legal system to pass a law to say that
I'll tell you, the calendar people are going, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. It's not a bad idea, by the way, for
No, it
for the
isn't,
kids
but
and the people. But
let's separate the two. Call it something else.
So you like where I'm going with this idea, though, because once fall really settles in and you get past Halloween, then you're getting into, of course, Advent, and that doesn't require any setup at all.
No, because what you're saying, I think, is very important for preachers to practice.
Yeah.
I think it is. You have to make it relevant. Otherwise, it makes no sense. This is why I always maintain you better know who you're preaching to and adjust your preaching to those people. Not everybody's the same. They don't all laugh at the same jokes. You better be careful about what you say and how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember joking with some people in Hawaii where they kind of took everything so seriously. And you say to one person, oh, that's too bad. I mean, you're a real bad person, trying to say the opposite. And, of course, the person would look at me and say, what did I do? And I says, no. So anyway, you have to adjust what you're saying to the people that you're addressing. And I think that's one of the important points of a good preacher, that they do adjust. And one method of adjusting is to relate it to present day activities, feast days, whatever they may be.
Things are easier to understand when they apply to your daily life.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking what you just said about the beginning of everything starts when school starts.
Yeah.
People get into that mindset.
It's football season.
Yeah, and so
college football.
We got to get ready for the year. We have to get ready for
the Detroit Lions. All right, enough said.
No laughing.
I apologize, friends, for that. Let's just stay with you then, Father Joe Grimaldi. You sort of like take advantage. You understand what I'm saying about taking
Not
advantage of the season.
Not only do I understand it, I do take advantage of it. Yeah, there's a different way of preaching, and you're going to emphasize different things, and you can still do that with the readings that you have in front of you.
Yeah.
And sometimes, here's another thing too. It's not necessary that you always preach on the gospel, even though some people believe that it has to be. But on Sundays...
Within your ranks, some people believe that?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
But what you have is 3 readings on Sunday.
Yes.
So you can preach on any of those 3 readings. Now, some people try to do the impossible. That's preaching on all 3. Well, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
Human nature being what it is.
Yeah.
After a certain amount of time, the feet are shuffling.
Yep.
People are looking at the watch. They want to be out of here. So you can't really do an hour long of preaching like it was some sort of a document that was being presented at some sort of a, what's the word I'm looking for, symposium, where you're going to preach for an hour. No, people are not ready for, Catholics are not ready for that. Maybe some of the others, thinking of our Protestant brothers and sisters, they may be ready, but even they're human. And I think after a certain amount of time, they start getting antsy. They want it over with.
I watch a show that's all about movies, and they review the movie.
Oh, okay.
Now imagine if we were to take that scenario and take 3 critics and put them in the back of the church. And let's say at this church, 3 different priests say Mass, and they're in the back. And, the great thing about this show is they always go, how many times did I look at my watch? And a really good movie, they never look at their watch.
Correct.
It just keeps going.
Right.
And they always say, unfortunately, I looked at my watch 4 times. There are some times when they say, I thought it was a really good movie, but I did look at my watch 2 times. And I think that's just human nature for people.
It gets worse if they're snoring.
And you've had that happen. I'm sure you've seen people nudge
of course
somebody next to them.
Yes.
Wake up.
Yes.
Wake up. I always imagine myself, because of the fact that broadcasting requires that you're always in a good mood. People expect Ken Calvert to be the same guy every single day. And what I brought to the microphone was a guy that lived next door, that had a fence, that you wanted to lean on and have a chat with that guy. Because that guy always had a couple of really funny stories, and he always had a nice thing to say about your house and about you. And at the end of the day, he walks away from that fence. We both go in our opposite directions, and that guy's saying, you know what, that Ken Calvert's a good guy. I'd love to have a beer with that guy. And that's how I tried to approach every show. And I thought, if I were ever, imagine me as a priest.
Oh, I think
if I were up there, imagine me. That's what I would want people to take, while at the same time staying true to the liturgy and the gospel and the readings.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it does.
Okay.
And, what I mentioned about people trying to preach on all three, well, first of all, I think it's important that we maintain one hot topic. If you try to do three and mix them all up, people are going to go away not remembering what you've said.
Yeah.
It's important. I always we're in the back of the church at the end of Mass, and so, oh, Father, I really enjoyed your message. Well, you better not say, what did I say? Because they think, well, it doesn't matter. It was really good.
It was the part, specifically, what was the line that you used? Oh, gosh. Bobby, what was that line that he used? Either way, I loved it. Oh, gosh, you just knocked it out of the ballpark.
That's right.
At least they tried to listen.
Exactly.
But, you do a beautiful job. You really do a nice job.
Thank you. I tried.
But at the end of the day, I'm going to say this. I agree with you. Pick a topic, deliver it, develop it, and finish it. And make me feel good when you turn around and walk back to the altar. I want to go, whew, well done. All right, Father Joe Grimaldi.
A strong beginning and a strong end.
Have you ever turned around going, I nailed it? I know you have.
But there were times when I've turned around and said, oh, my God, what did I say?
Oh, boy. Wish I had that one back.
Right.
All right. That was a good discussion. But thank you so much for joining us on the Father Joe Grimaldi podcast. I'm Ken Calvert, and by the way, we've got about 8 more podcasts to do before Halloween. So we'll see you next time on the Father Joe podcast.
I look forward to seeing you. Thank you. This is Father Joe Grimaldi, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Father Joe podcast.
If you'd like, you can email us. It's frjoepodcast@gmail.com. That's frjoepodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook. Simply search Father Joe Grimaldi. And thanks for listening, everyone.